Welcome. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right away, and that is how we get this done. So thank you. Thank you for joining Astrology with Agneta. Today I'm going to talk about April of 2024. There is some important eclipses occurring, a total solar eclipse, April 8th, that a lot of people are talking about. I will share Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus, Pluto in Aquarius, Capricorn back and forth, Mercury station retrograded in Aries, and I would like to do some chanting with you. So thank you for joining me for this section. We will talk a little, share some astrology, so hang in there. And we start with the big thing about solar and lunar eclipses. And people talk about only April 8th, but they actually started last year, April and October 2023, and they will not end until another eclipse on March 28th in Aries. Why Aries and Libra? When we think about the world at large, it's a lot about governments, takeovers, manipulations, and we will go through that too. But just to remind ourselves, there is a sequence of areas, me, moi, myself, my higher self, my lower self. And Libra, always the peace seeker, which we all would like to do. We like to be able to find that peace within. So also, we will go through that thoroughly, but that will be my first reminder that the eclipses cannot happen without the moon's nodes, which is basically the path of the moon, of course, very close to the sun. And when they meet in a certain degree, they are eclipsed. So basically 4 times a year they happen. And it's a fun thing. I do pay attention. That would become my specialty in astrology and all the other good stuff. So just as looking at a chart, for you who doesn't know astrology, sometimes there's just a splash out to the whole 360 degree. This is a recent past, March 25th, there was a lunar eclipse. And as you know, we always look into that full moon. Woohoo! That's why we all feel different and we can't sleep. But to be aware of this time, I want to, before we go into that infamous April 8th eclipse, I want to just look at this position here. South node is the past in our way of looking at those eclipses. The moon, the full moon on March 25th was in Libra. Now, when we see this little bowl, we call it a bowl. And what is all this circulating around in this area? That I will change for later. But I wanted to go into that the moon in Libra is peace seeker. And was it a peace? There was still that concentration of that area of Aries and Pisces, and I will go into that. But South Node basically is the past, and even during the vernal equinox on March 19th was important to prepare the whole year. There's supposed to be, there is an infamous election November 5th, 2024. So I would like to share that, but also I will be with you every month as a process. So this April of 2024 is a crucial way for us to be selfish in an unselfish way so we can help those in need. So the past comes in here with these symbols. The past, they prepare for a year, very personal as collective growth. We cannot ignore the news, but if we don't put our mask first, we cannot help those in need. That's an important part too, of course, coming into that April 8th strong eclipse. But I also want to talk about this guy here. Pluto has traveled in the sign of Capricorn. This is a symbol of Aquarius. But the back and forth about Plutonic energy, it's a lot with Pluto. We'll talk the mythological part in a minute, but it is the birth and death of something that has been going on for actually in the United States of America's chart for 248 years. That's a whole different topics. But today we focus on the 29 degrees into 1 degree or 0 degree into Aquarius. And that's part of why I want to share. We don't know right now. We try to, astrology knows it all. Not really. We just like, whoa, look at this situation. So on May 5th, now on 2024, Pluto will go back into Capricorn, and then it will stay back and forth, go into Capricorn in the fall of September 1, 2024, and then station direct on October 11th in that Capricorn. And the degree of that station is sensitive because the 2959 is called anaretic degree. It's neither here nor there. It's not moving forward until Pluto goes totally direct into Aquarius on November 20th, November 19th and 20th, Eastern Daylight Saving Times. So it's 19th or the 20th, 2024, and that is after the election. So the whole Plutonic energy of Pluto is not just birth and death, is cleansing, is transformation. It is secrets revealed. It is part of manipulation. And I will go through a little bit more mythological part, but I just want to concentrate on this other part of April 21st of 2024, and is in April. The big planet Jupiter travels fast in 1 year, and he has been in Taurus. That has to do with finances, rules. Venus comes into play of the market goes up, now is up, then it might be down. That we will see. Because with Uranus, the larger planet, that is outer planet rather, not larger, but it is more like unexpected, electricity, uniqueness, rebellion. Unfortunately, it also terrorist attack. Anything can happen, explosion, thunder, weather condition. So when they come together on a 36-year cycle, we might find ourselves be careful more about being informed. Is also a very good tool at the moment for us to stay safe and secure in that it is a big change in the world at large. We do not just focus on the United States of America, we focus on humanitarian aspects. When we then look at this mythological part of Pluto, he is the god that oversees the underworld. He rules the underworld. It's the secret, it's the darkness. But in that process, he also has a way of being able to observe certain things of power. There is a connection between Jupiter and Uranus. They are siblings, brothers. But in the despair of what we're looking at, not just in America, but Persephone here, she's forced by Pluto into the underworld. And of course, there is total disgrace of men treating women at times, not at all the time. But in this mythological parable is that Pluto forces the maiden, Persephone, down to the underworld, and they have to learn how to survive. I will promise you right now in the mythological part, her mother, Ceres, that we always have something form. She's the goddess of fertility, earth, the corn, the seeds, new life, new birth. So Persephone promised by Pluto to be able to reemerge every springtime. And supposedly that myth is what I hope for, is 6 months that she's allowed to come up from the underworld to reunite with her mother, to be caring, to learn how to grow new seeds. There's a new birth all the time going on. There is terrible deaths at the moment, but there's also beautiful births at the same moment. So there's the hope that perhaps in 6 months, when we know in the fall of 2024, there is another eclipse, which then would be September, yes, September and October of 2024, which gives us in that intensity of political things, but it's more humanitarian ways that I see it and know it. So when we look at the Mercury in this section of he carries his helmet, is very important to trust news, the media, and friends. Some will be forgotten and some we cannot talk about, or we still has to remain friendship. But Mercury is the shifting of communication. How do we trust? There's always two sides to each coin. And he travels also and gives us the wrong message or the right message. We have to be careful to know these messages of poor Persephone being in the underworld. There's also the mythological part that they do get used to each other, fortunately or unfortunately. She gives birth to two children, because in the beginning, of course, there's the rapes, there is all the different horribly way of treating women by saying, oh, no, the men in the suit are going to rule the bodies of the women. So we also have to be wise by showing up in that Jupiter Uranus to be our unique self and not give up, not just of the feminine part, because there is men involved too, the beautiful men, the gorgeous men, the kind men. And there's also, when we don't think about all those rules, there's rapes that are not maybe allowed to have all the abortion. So with the kind of like the forced sexuality is also on the radar just about every day. So we have to find our inner source, and I hope we can find that. So we're getting right away to the eclipse because I don't want to keep you too long. We have found this. Eclipses happens 4 times a year, but this is a special one. As in 2017, it was the Great American Eclipse that went from the west coast all the way down here, and then eventually they do disappear out in the west. And this one on April 8th is going to start in Mexico and go all the way up. And this is the line all the way up, New York, Pennsylvania, wherever you might be now. However, right away, even if you don't see it, it's there. And I will share some of my thoughts about how to connect to that. For example, when we look at the phenomena of a total solar eclipse, they happen, but it's not all the time we can see it total. And in this is also the moon processing her energy coming closer to us. So we will see her. We have noticed that on the latest full moon on March 25th, that the rotation comes closer, her face comes closer to us. So she's stronger for sure. And Aries, first sign of all the zodiac sign, is all about you and maybe me, but also the masses at large. We have to think about that, because this is an image how actually the moon will pass through that whole line and come through into actually kind of block the sun, but the sun is already big, so we'll see the corona around it. And of course, the sun is the spirit of everybody, whether you see it or not. Then it's an honor to be able to see it and to experience it. But again, if you don't have it, the view, if you can, number one, not be able to travel, either for whatever reason, is still the meditation, is still the self. Aries says, me, I am very important. And on the other side is Libra, which was more important March 25th, but now they come together as us and you, me and you, others versus what is going on. So it's a beautiful energy to merge into that time. I will suggest perhaps you can, for you who know some of the symbols, welcome. For you who doesn't know the symbols, we want to just explain just like how different this eclipse is, we go again from the March 25th, we still have the South Node, the past. The South Node is more like what was, is a spiritual light because it comes from the light from the past, as in prior lifetimes, even if you want to go there. And then it comes into the hardship of coming back to this lifetime and endure all the stuff we do just being born. And there was an isolation, but it's also very wise of the meditation and the past and allowing that, part of the subconscious to be conscious and move into what we then say the North Node. The North Node is then the way of allowing the light, the hope, the future, our goals from what we have learned from the past. And don't we always learn from our mistakes? Hopefully. But the lineup here is very unusual. We have this lineup here coming on this side. We still remember how we had Jupiter, Uranus. Let's get that later. That's still prominent, but not until April 21st is it more prominent, but they still close together. In astrology, we deal from 0 to 30 degrees. So the closer we get to the truth, conjunction on top of each other, then it becomes more powerful. So when we then have Neptune in Pisces, which is another story for another time and another month, maybe. We have Venus in Aries, which is kind of like, are you seeing me? I have to be seen. And that's sometimes hard for Aries to be seen all the time because we have to think about other people too. That's a 15 degrees. And as I mentioned, eclipses is in its proximity, how strong they are. They should be within 5 degrees. So the closer they get, the stronger the eclipse is, and the views as well. But the power of it, again and again, whether you can see it or not, you still have the empowerment to benefit from this eclipse. The sun and the moon, 19 degrees, 24. Now we do the timing, depends on if you're Mexico, the Midwest, up to Northern America, up to Canada, and then they disappear. And because then like what happens to it is still in its effect, but the moon goes elsewhere and it goes into an nighttime, and then you could see it, but it's not in the daytime where the sun, the power of the sun, the vitality, life, again and again, the spirit of all humanity is very important. April 8th, 2024. So you will have to look at your own location, but you can also take the whole day to prepare. We're going to do a little chant later on. So we have 19 degrees, and Chiron is crucial. It's a dwarf planet that we discovered in science, discovered in 1977. And he belonged, it has to be the mythological part, is the wounded healer. And we all know we have a little part in our psyche that always goes like, oh, my mother did this, my father didn't, and he did this, and she did that. So the constant purification of Chiron, is an ultimate teacher, and he had to become mortal to be able for us to be able to use him. And that he entered Chiron in 2021. Don't quote me on that, please. But he will stay until 2026 and 2027. So don't miss this opportunity. And especially now, if you listen to me, this goes into the fall of 2024 too. And Chiron follows that too as well. But what occurred to me was also, those are all 1924, 19 minutes, 19 degrees and 24 minutes, and there are seconds to it, just for you to say that's from 0 to 30. So 19 degrees, when I kind of did that numerology, that becomes 19 is 16 degrees, when you add this up, 16 and number 7. And number 7 is a strong spiritual achievement. It's like a Saturnian way of saying, I am going to move on and I'm going to be practical in this once in this lifetime. We haven't lived many lifetimes, but this is a lifetime of opportunity because the shift is absolutely happen as we speak. So when we look at the sun in all those degrees, then Chiron is together to me with the 1940 degree is a spiritual awareness, is wisdom. Should we listen to our inner self and not always blame it on somebody else, which is i.e. Libra? Being in that self is also great, enormous healing opportunities for personal growth, for healing opportunity. As the South Node here then does show, that's the hand of God, because this is still that bucket, as we call it. It's not a splash, it's a focus energy for us to be able to endure, merge, meditate, chant, looking at the eclipse, beautiful if you can. But it's also to be aware that this is an important year, and many astrologers, myself including, feel April is like the earth shift and the weather pattern is changing everywhere. So it's a way of saying, take care of ourselves in that process. You might ask, like, well, that's all about Aries and me, me, me. I wanted to just say also, some people are very much into Mercury being retrograded. And that happens naturally 3 times a year, usually 45 days. April 1st, Mercury goes retrograded in Aries and stay in Aries until just about April 25th, still in Aries, in the 16 degrees, still like a back and forth. It's like this. We always want to move forward, right? Then they go, no, we're not ready for that one answer. So it's like a loop, and then we move forward. This is all as above, so below. So it's an important time, perhaps maybe, to stay more focused, do what you have to do, and others will follow. The way of looking at these two guys here, Taurus, I have explained April 21st. So anybody who has Aries, Scorpio, would benefit by not making rash decisions. It's always Mercury go retrograde, don't buy the car. It's more than that. So that when we take then this Taurus affects the sun, which actually is the ruler of this chart because we have to see the sun. So Leo, all signs actually are very involved with this time of April. When we find Cancer, we do have the jokes about Cancer being sensitive, rules the moon. That is in a strong square from that Aries lineup. And that also goes direct into Capricorn as being affected by this time. What happened to a lot of Capricorn people, especially the one being born at the end of the cycle of Capricorn, then going into Aquarius, which of course that's the end of December, going into January, is the most zodiac signs involved. In the degree, you have to know your chart. But that's still processing. Capricorn again, 29 degrees. Anoretic is an old kind of like Arabian point of even down to Siberian about there is always a birth and death, and at that same minute there is another birth. So it could have been intense for those late born in the sign of Capricorn. I would say like 5 degrees, 25 up to 30, and then it moves on, but not until November 20th. But also that's all new when we go into another year, and that's another story for another month. The other sign that you would say like, oh, but Aries, what about the fire? Not bad if you listen, Leo, Sagittarius, that will be beneficial. A little bit about these guys here, for example, on April 8th, we see Mars, which actually, ABC of astrology, belongs to Aries. So you have like a little double yummy here, like Mars in Pisces, doesn't really like to be there. So I'm like, I gotta blow up. Not, excuse me for saying, not any accident with bridges, but with that Uranus, Jupiter, and also wars, there is peace in our heart. Saturn is the government, is the one who controls us in a way of not owning us, but trying to tell us what to do. So they are very strong in Pisces, which always challenges Gemini. Many Geminis going into Saturn cycle. That's another story as well. And also Pisces challenges Sagittarius. But it does oppose Virgo. That's an earth sign. And that earth sign could be beneficial when it comes to certain um, Virgo individuals to try in this Jupiter Uranus, do something that you really want to do. Go out of your way to travel to the eclipse or do something that you never felt like doing. And Capricorn too, allow the change, the force that has been implemented into your life. Don't resist this year, letting what doesn't work anymore be gone. And that is also the message of this eclipse. Okay. Moving forward, or perhaps moving into, I didn't want to keep this too long, so I'm going to share this chant. It is a chant that I often do when I teach, Morning Sun. That is from a California woman, unknown, that would like for it to be shared by the world. So please join me, and we do the 1 verse 2, 3, and 4. And thank you. We take a few deep breaths, and I might want to remind myself to say, what can we do to prepare for an eclipse? Of course, meditation, chanting, community groups, be by ourselves and look at that eclipse and breathe it in and thinking about how fortunate we are to, number one, to still be alive and healthy, hopefully. But there is a lot of the healing capacity still. But with all that much fire, for you who do not have fire, empower yourself. But for some of charts that we'll see has a lot of fire, maybe the water by a lake and look at the eclipse, or anytime during April to reconnect to earth, the water, and finding that the vitality of the sun, as we just had the vernal equinox where we worship the sun. So let's be thankful, because the sun is life, it is power. And I want to share this chant with you. So we always ground ourselves when we do the chant. From sometimes I do meditation, but the Muladhara up to Sahasrara, to say like maybe there is as above, so below, and allowing that to come through in whatever. Some of you don't have any wounds, good for you. But for us who might have something that we always work on to be able to be alive and use that vitality, this is a great chant to use. Taking a few deep breaths and make sure we allow that kind of energy to come through down through our temples, especially the heart, which rules the sun. Morning sun, come my way, come my way. Come my way, come my way, take my pain, take my pain. Take my pain, down below, down below. Down below, cool waters, down below. Thank you. And if you like it, you can email me and request that little chant, or you can just take a picture of it. Allowing that to be a part of our life at the moment. This happens to be the moon's node, understanding the dynamic ties that bind. The eclipses comes in bigger cycle as Sarah cycles, but at this moment, this is what I want to share. If you want to get a hold of me, this is my contact. But I also want to wish you the very best for April of 2024. Continuing month, every month is a blessing. And I do thank you. And we might as well say a proper goodbye. Goodbye, many blessings, and be in touch.